Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today I am joined by Brady Jolly, who's the president and owner of Jolly Plumbing, Drains, Heating, and Air. Really excited to hear Brady's story. It's one of these family business type stories that's just great to hear. It's a great example. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. I know you're going to enjoy it as well. Brady, why don't you start by just introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Like you said, I'm the owner of Jolly Plumbing, Drains, Heating, and Air. We are located in Northern Kentucky. We service Greater Cincinnati. So Northern Kentucky's, we're 5 minutes from downtown Cincinnati. We're a residential contractor. So 95% or more of our work is residential. And when I say residential, it's no new construction or multifamily. It's just regular single family residential service and repair. So that's kind of on the work side. Personally, just had first baby, 10-month-old boy at home. His name's Crew. So that's been fun and definitely, a new adventure in life.
Yeah. Excellent. And this business, you're second generation of Jolly that's on the business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So my parents started the business in 1979. Actually, picture of my dad, you can see right there when he started it.
Okay.
So it was kind of, the typical small business story. I mean, it was a plumbing company, but he would do a little bit of everything, in the early days. Just if you were willing to pay the hourly rate, he would do it. He was kind of a business guy. He went to business school at Northern Kentucky University and couldn't really find a job coming out of college and landed at a plumbing company. And against all odds and what he thought he would be doing in his career, he ended up starting a plumbing company. So that was a cool way to do it because he had a different lens, for what a business was supposed to be. And he just saw a real need to be professional, to be, somebody that great communicator, that, exceptional customer service. And that's kind of what he started the business on. He was really able to reimagine what that process was like. And we've carried that along till today. So fast forward 2014, I was coming out of college at Northern Kentucky University as well. Of course, I'd grown up entrepreneurial family. My whole life, I knew that I wanted to take over Jolly Plumbing. And I had 4 older sisters, kind of thought maybe I would do it with them, maybe. And just for one reason or the other, each of them decided not to go down the path of being in the business. So that left me. My parents were very ready to retire. My dad was like, he had a lot of other interests. He did a lot of commercial real estate and other things. And he was just ready to retire from the plumbing business. So after growing up in the field, kind of came into the office in 2014 when I was done with college and worked in the office a bit through college. And just by being there and having somebody putting energy into the business, because it had kind of been on cruise control for several years. Sure. And he didn't really have a desire to grow. He was the type guy. He was the type dad. He was home by 2:30 at 3:30 see us get off the bus, which was awesome. But it was a perfect opportunity for me. I I was 22. I didn't know what I was doing, but just because I was there and putting energy in, it grew, and we were able to have really good growth. So fast forward, I bought the business in 2017. Around that time, we really started focusing on transitioning to residential only. So when I took over the business, we were about 70% of our revenue was commercial.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. Yep. And now we're, like I said, residential. So bought the business in 2017, started HVAC in 2021. Also in 2017, I started a firewater mold restoration company. which has now been merged with our plumbing company. So we do plumbing, heating, and air, and then we also do water cleanup through our plumbing company. Yeah. So long-winded answer to your question.
No, no, great story, and you've it's cool to hear how you've grown. So your dad started off in a pretty tough time. I was in high school in 1979, tell my age. I remember that. I mean, that was tough economic times. We were in a what they call it, the malaise, I believe is what they called it at that time.
Yeah.
And
So
then
my mom
you
worked
come
at a
out.
bank. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say my mom worked at a bank, so they got a discount on the business loan. I forget if they got a $4,000 or $5,000 business loan to start, start the business. She got a discount on the interest rate, and it was 14%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Uh, that the interest payments back then were just brutal. It was a tough time to start a business, and then you come along and really kind of start the business, and you're not very far along, and you have COVID, and you actually launched the HVAC portion right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, COVID was such a conundrum for our business because the demand was as high as it's ever been.
Yeah,
Demand in the home service business. You got people sitting at home with nothing to do, and the government's giving them money for assistance and everything. So
yeah,
they don't have anywhere to spend their money because restaurants and stores are closed. So they turn to home services. I mean, water heaters, furnaces, everything.
yeah,
So that was a good thing. So we have all the work we need, yet employees with all the rules and regulations around COVID, to everybody taking a week off every time that they're sick, and then anybody they came in contact to. So
right,
it was a unique time where we had way too much work and not near enough people. So it was a
yeah,
challenge. In hindsight, I think it was really good for us. I think that the timing was good. I think the timing was good of when we started our HVAC business. We started in the height of where there was a lot of demand. So by us being able to tell our plumbing customers, hey, we do HVAC now, I think that it was a good jump start because there was so much demand at that time.
yeah. So, how did you navigate? I mean, you're young man, new business owner, relatively new business owner, expanding COVID, all this stuff. How did you manage through that? What was your source of strength? What did how did you figure out the right approach?
Yeah, man, I don't really know. Good question. We just always have kind of been the type of company where, and this goes back to my dad, it's just like, hey, there's going to be challenges. Running a business isn't easy, but we're in it. We know we're in it, and we're going to have to problem solve and think of solutions for whatever's thrown at us.
Mhm.
Building, around a really good team who can help us make those decisions. I never want to be on an island where I'm just sitting here in my office thinking, oh, this is the best way to go. Let's do it. I think one of our strengths over the last 10 years or so is building a really good team. So I would say, like, in that time, we leaned on our leadership team, just to make decisions on, hey, how do we navigate this? What do we do with customers that may have COVID, or how do we interact with customers when they're nervous and asking us questions about our safety protocols? How do we interact with our staff? How do you do staff meetings? Do we let people work from home? Do we not? Does the call center work from home? What about, obviously we're in the plumbing business. We have to be in people's house. That was a unique thing for our industry, right? So there was just a lot of questions, and I think just through having a team, and we made a lot of decisions that probably weren't the right ones, but we would always make a united decision, and we'd walk out of the room saying, yeah, we're all on the same page. Let's go.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to go. And then if it didn't go right, we'd say, okay, that was a fail. Let's reconvene and let's figure out a new thing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'd say just
No.
leaning on the team and the humility of knowing that you might not answer. I think that, like, during COVID, there was so many things that were just the first time anybody ever had to make a
Right.
decision like that. So
Yes.
you weren't going to make the right one. You just weren't. It was set up for failure. So being able to be nimble and change your mind, I think, was one of the most important things.
Yeah. Well, and so a couple of keys I heard in there was one, you walked out of the room unified, and I see people, in business get in a room, have disagreements, and then the maybe the owner walks out going, okay, this is what we're going to do. But, the other people were all mouthing, going, I think I would have done something different, or I don't know about that, or they leave the room, again, not unified. So that's pretty cool. And then, that just that whole thing of being okay with failure. I hear that all the time when I'm in my conversations with folks on the podcast. It's one of the most common things is you got to be okay with failure. What's that Churchill quote about success is never final and failure is never fatal, or something like that? I always butcher
Yeah.
it, but it's something like that. We
Oh, it's true.
we shouldn't lean too much on our success, because that's not going to, that gets us through today, but not necessarily tomorrow. And then, failure's also not the end all. So it's
Yeah,
good.
we talk about, to your first point, about just leaving a meeting unified. We talk about like the meeting after the meeting. We've had a culture in the past where you'd have a meeting, and then after the meeting, two or three people, or they're out in their different, cliques, talking about, what about this? Why'd we do this? Why'd we do that? That's super unhealthy for a culture. We don't want a meeting after the meeting. But
Yeah.
if you don't agree in here in this meeting right now, let's talk about it. Let's say
Yes.
it with respect, directly and with respect, and let's talk about it, and let's hash it out in here. I think, that's something that I've learned. We run the traction model. So we have
Yeah.
L10 meetings. We have an operational L10 meeting. We have a business level L10 meeting every
Right.
week. And, that's the meeting to hash out anything. If you don't agree, that's great, actually, for the organization. You can't just have a leader who says, this is how it's going to go. Everybody agree with me.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever going to work. You need everybody to be able to, argue and collaborate and come up with a decision together. And you need leaders who are willing to do that, in my opinion, to run a successful organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Those meetings after the meetings never go well. I think it was, I think it's Brene Brown that like has a zero tolerance policy on that. Like you're fired if you're caught having a meeting after the meeting. And she's done that apparently. I'm like, that's pretty bold, but
Makes sense.
it leads to a healthier culture. So, it's interesting. So many business owners I know have that issue where the kids don't want to come into their business. It's interesting that you said from early age, you knew you wanted to uh, be in the business. So you go through college and you come out, you've kind of worked in the field, the trade. Had to still be some surprises when suddenly you make that switch over into the ownership role. What was the biggest surprise or aha moment for you?
Yeah, I think it was probably, if I had to boil it down, it's just that everybody isn't so eager to and energized by growth as me. That was like, this is an awesome thing. This is amazing. We're going to grow this company. We're going to crush it, and everything's going to be great. Everybody's going to be doing better financially and more challenged at work and more fulfilled. Like, I looked at that as a really good thing. And, this organization that really hadn't experienced much change over the last 10 years, all of a sudden there's this kid coming in that's 22 that thinks he knows a lot more than he probably does and is going to change a ton of stuff. Like, that was met with some resistance, obviously, looking back. But for me, I'm like, at the time, like, this is all great stuff. Let's go, So we had this, so in our office, we had our current office, we've been in for 10 years. We moved in 2015, shortly after I kind of was taking over management of the company. We went from about a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot office to a 25,000 square foot building. Then we wanted to renovate it, and it was way too much building for us. So we rented it out and got creative. We built an event center in it to try to create some income throughout the time we were growing into it. But part of that was a basketball court. So I'm sitting here looking at the basketball court right now. We have a basketball court in our office that used to be an event center to trying to kind of make this building work. When we were making that move, it was like right as I took over the business, the building was under construction. We had a big company meeting. There was about 20 of us at the time about all the changes that we're about to go through. So keep in mind, I had my dad as my mentor, who he knew, he could have wrote a book about how to run the perfect plumbing service business. He just
Right.
at the time didn't really want to implement all those things at the back end of his career. So by the time I
Yeah.
came along, he's like, you should do this, you should do this, we should try this, you know. So I was like gung ho, and he and I worked together to put together this really good presentation on what we were doing. And it was met with some mixed feelings. You know, it was, we're going to do all this awesome stuff and grow. And of course, I'm excited about it. But that day we had 20 people in this new building. It was like kind of like, hey, this is the vision. Look around. It's going to be different, unique, so much different than where we came from, all that. Um, and it was met with like some people like, I don't really want to be a part of that, you know? So like, I don't know the exact time, 3 weeks, a month later. So we had 20 in the room there. We were down to like 9 employees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was a challenge for sure. Was ultimately a really good thing, you know, and it was all done respectfully. Like we were very open. Hey, if you don't like the changes, if you don't think that this is for you, totally understand. It's a huge change in the business. Like no problem. Here's an opportunity to maybe find something. We'll work with you. Find something you do think you'll like. You know, find another job. And so we worked with some people on that, and then we ultimately had to let go a few people in that time. And you know, from there it was just like, hey, this is the line in the sand, and we're just going to grow from here. We get the right people on the bus, and let's go.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. And one thing I sense from you, and I don't know you very well, but I sense there's this you got this balance of energy of wanting to grow, expand, and be creative, but you also have a humility about yourself that is often with entrepreneurs missing. I say that's often the
Thank
missing
you.
piece. um, Speak about that and how that's helped you through some of these challenges.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I mean, you know, I don't know. I think my parents, like just how they raised me and my sisters, like very humble. You know, we were lucky enough to grow up very fortunate family. They'd grown an awesome business, but they'd grown it from nothing. So we saw, especially some of my sisters, I'm the youngest. So my older sisters, like they saw when my mom was dispatching in the laundry room with the, you know, guys lined up down the hallway. Wow, she's like taking calls, breastfeeding a baby, like giving tickets for the dispatch. Like it was a crazy, chaotic environment. Um, all the way up to when we had this nice office and a couple different office buildings here. So I kind of got to experience what that looked like, and like I saw my parents, like they're the hardest workers I know. I saw them work their tail off to get there. Like I think oftentimes in family business, at least, like second or third generation can come in and just they didn't get to see what it took to get there. They just see the final product. And I think that can be dangerous. I was fortunate enough to see that. So I think like seeing back from the humble beginnings of the business and how hard it was. And like, I kind of look at the business now as the same way. Like, I think we have a long way to go. You know, in business, you're always comparing yourself to your peers, and there's people you're looking
Mhm.
up to. And,
Right.
you know, there's companies that are doing things way beyond what we're doing now, and that we're striving to be like them, you know. And I think we've done some great things, but I think we have a long way to go. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the book, The Gap and the Gain?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was something I read recently. I just really liked it. It's, you know, I've kind of in my past, I've always looked at like the gap, like, man, we should be bigger, we should be better, we should be growing more, you know, and it is kind of nice to sometimes reflect on the gain. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? Things have went pretty good. Maybe not exactly how we would have drawn it up. Maybe we wish we would have grown more. We wish we would have done this or that, but the gain's been pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to reflect on both of those things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I've I've worked with some entrepreneurs and business owners who cannot celebrate the past at all. They just, what they made last month, even if that last month was a record month, this month is a whole new thing. And it's like, come on, you do get to enjoy some things too. Hopefully you're not literally that miserable, like
Yeah.
always worrying about. Um, so let's talk a little bit about balance. You mentioned earlier you got a 10-month-old son. Congratulations on that. I have a 1-year-old grandson.
Awesome.
He's up in Cincinnati as well. Uh,
Okay.
just
Cool.
up there for his first birthday this past weekend. Uh,
Awesome. Okay, great.
but how do work-life balance meant something very different from my generation to yours. And how are you finding balance? Or I've been using the word alignment some lately. It's not as much about balance. People think it means 50-50, but more of an alignment of having your priorities aligned in the right way. What do you, what's your approach there?
It's a good question. Still definitely something that I'm working on. I think, again, I saw how my parents did it. Like the the ability that they had was to make the business like the lifestyle that they had, and it was just part of, everybody in our family's life. There's a business and we're going to do that, and that's kind of our community too, and the employees at the business we're very involved with. And
Yeah.
and it worked really well for them. I think as we've grown, and then now having a new kid, I've got to try to figure that out. I think that the commitment that I have always had is I'm going to build a business that doesn't require me to work 80
Yeah.
hours a week, and I'm going to be a good delegator. If that means I have to make a hire a little earlier than maybe the financial statement calls for it, because I can't do it for 80 hours a week and make it sustainable, then that's just what's going to have to happen. And I think that that's a skill that I've kind of been able to fine tune over the years, is that delegation piece, where I'm sure I could do a lot more here, but are we going to be able to grow the type of organization that I want to grow? And am I going to be able to have the work-life balance that I need to sustain this if I'm doing everything here? And no, I wouldn't, so being able to find people that are really good at their job, that can help build this business and build our leadership team has been important. And we preach work-life balance. We uniquely 3 years ago, uniquely for our business, got rid of on-call, after hours on call. There's not one person in the company that's on call. That's very unique to our business, and it's a great recruiting
Wow.
tool. We shift things out, so we hire for the shift, and you're not going to work more than your shift. Now, in the plumbing business, there's not really off times exactly, but we're really focused on making sure that when guys go home, they're not getting called back out. They don't have to worry about that phone ringing. We're off on Sundays, very unique to our business.
Yeah.
We're off on Sundays and we're off on holidays, on call on Sundays and holidays. So there's some challenges there from a customer experience perspective. But what we've found is the trade-off of what happy employees mean to your customers. When an employee's going out there refreshed, happy, energetic, they love the company they work for, they know the company's got their back, they're willing to give such good customer service. And we think that exchange, trading that off for missing a few customer opportunities, we think it's well worth it.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful. I mean, you're basically saying we're putting our employees, and it's kind of a servant leadership model, right? Put your employees first so that they'll serve your customers better. That's a pretty powerful statement to say, you know what, we're gonna miss some business because we're not going to be operating on Sundays and holidays. Kudos to you for that courage. So so just usually two final questions usually I have. First one is, kind of where do you see your business going? I know HVAC has some new regulations and all sorts of things that's creating some chaos, but where do you see Jolly going over the next year or two?
Yeah, great question. So our foot's on the gas pedal, extreme growth. We hired a COO a year and a half ago. He's an exceptional operator. He actually worked for the company for 8 years, left for 2 years, and came back at an elevated position. So right now we are really focused on profit and the bottom line from a business standpoint. So employee experience, customer experience, and the bottom line are our 3 initiatives right now. We have done a good job of building the infrastructure to grow to a larger business. We haven't done a good job of, okay, we're here now. Let's really focus on performance and really hit some good bottom line profit targets. So that's what we're focused on now. And we have some really good things going there. So we're kind of like fine tuning. We kind of grew this awesome leadership team, got the people in the right seats, got a lot of the processes and procedures. And we're like, okay, hyper focus on performance. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
With that, our HVAC business is new. It's still only 4.5, 5 years old. So that's the biggest opportunity for growth. So we're focused on converting our plumbing customers to our HVAC customers. It's funny. I thought, hey, people love us for plumbing. We've been doing it for 45 years. We're just going to go out there and tell them that we're in the heating and air business, and they're just going to flock to us. Well, loyal customers are also loyal to their other company. So they were loyal plumbing customers. They're loyal to HVAC. They're the HVAC company, right? So that's been a slower crawl through the mud, kind of, I would say. So we're really focused on how can we get those customers, convert those customers to be both of our trades. And I think we're doing a lot better job of that. So the growth is going to come from HVAC. As well as in Cincinnati. So about 70% of our work's in Northern Kentucky and about 30% in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's obviously the bigger metro.
Right.
So we're pushing to grow in that area as well.
Cool. Very good. Well, just one last question. I always ask, what advice would you give? You're still very, very much a young man, but you're seasoned with 10 plus years experience in this management role. But especially think of that second generation guy out there that maybe the high school, college age that's going, I don't know if I really want to do my, follow my dad's footsteps. What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Well, you better be ready for like a fight. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of challenges, and you better be committed to just like, I'm in this, rolling my sleeves up, and I'm in this, and I'm going to do this for a long time. I think like my generation, especially, and I've been this way, there's so much focus on like the short term, like, in 2 years, I'm going to get this thing turned around and we're going to be making millions of dollars. Like, that's just not how it works. I mean, we've had a lot of growth over the years, but we've also had major setbacks, years that we barely grew or didn't grow at all. And we're thinking, are we missing the boat? What's going on? And like, we've had to just work on that 20-mile march of like, let's just focus on the fundamentals, focus on our blocking and tackling. This is going to work. It's going to work. If we keep focusing on this, keep doing it, we know it's the right thing. It's going to work. And I think finding that right thing came from consultants, coaches. We're a member of a consulting organization. All of our managers get coaching and consulting. I know I'm speaking your language now, John, but absolutely. You didn't pay me to say this, I swear, but it is important. I mean, I took over the business at 22. The only other job I ever had was Walmart cashier for 2 months. That was it, other than this. So who am I to grow a business? I don't have any experience, right? So I had to seek help. I had to read books. I had to talk to people who'd done it before me. And that was a huge benefit, maybe even the biggest benefit. Going into other company shops, seeing exactly how they're doing it, traveling to other cities and asking people, hey, people want to help. Hey, can I come look at your shop? I heard you're a great company. 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, you're awesome. Sure. Come on in. I'm going to show you everything. So.
Yeah. It's amazing how helpful business owners are, entrepreneurs are. Well, very good. Well, if someone's in the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, they want to reach out, contact you, or wherever they may be, but especially if they might want to contact you regarding employment or your services, how do they find you?
Yep, just jollyplumbing.com, and then my email, brady@jollyplumbing.com. They can find me there.
All right. Well, Brady, you're inspirational leader. I can tell you're doing great things, and it's really, really cool to share your story. So I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, John. It's great.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.